because you talked about some of your investors. A lot of your investors are first time passive investors. How do you attract people to you that were maybe not inside your network initially? What do you do to try to attract people? Because you said that, look, the syndication space has grown dramatically over the last 10 to 12 years. And I've only been in it for 4 years, and in that 4 years, I've seen it grow dramatically. But I still know a lot of people that don't get any emails asking them to join a multifamily deal. Like, they don't get invited to any of them, and they have the funds. So, and I was that way prior to 4 years ago. Like, you still have to get invited to be a part of these deals. So how do you attract and educate people that haven't done it before?
Yep, great question. And this was actually the panel discussion that you and other operators talked about at the MFIN Summit. It's called kind of building a platform, building a educational resource. The platform could be a website containing information and education about syndication investments. For me, being on podcasts has been the way I've probably attracted people who
Sure.
weren't already in my social or professional sphere. So for me, the podcast medium has done very well in attracting new people. And so I'm slowly building my database. And I would say in the couple, 3 or 4 deals I've been lead sponsor on, I would say typically maybe 50 to 60% of the investors are people I'd known in a previous life, let's call it that,
Sure.
right? Friends, family, old business associates, where maybe 30 to 40% have been new investors that I
That's
picked up along
fantastic.
the way. So put content out there, help educate people, get on podcasts, write blog posts, go to meetups. There are a lot of online meetups. You can go to in-person meetups and just kind of network, and that's how I built my investor
Yeah, I
database
think
and
that's
continue to
awesome.
do so.
I've heard other people say too that, um, they just, even before they got their first deal, before they, even some people, even before they invested passively in their first deal, they started to, you know, put it out on social media, so that their network, like, hey, I'm looking at real estate deals. I'm not, and then all of a sudden you find that some other people that you're in your network that you didn't even know have an interest there. They want to learn from you. So like, hey, what'd you learn? Like, what are some good meetups to go to where I can learn, what are some good podcasts? What are some good books? Like, and it just starts the ball rolling and those people could end up being investors with you, when you get your first syndication deal. So you don't have to wait until you get your first deal to start telling people what you're doing.
Precisely. And what I would say is, for me, in my experience, it works better when I just let other people know what I'm doing. I'm not asking them to do anything. I'm not asking them for money. I'm not asking them to invest. I'm just letting people know. Like when you go to a cocktail party, right? I'm sure
Hey,
at
what do you
some
do?
point the conversation goes to real estate, right? Well, what do you do? Yes. But also, hey, did you see what that
Right.
house down the street sold for, or whatever? So you just kind of put it out there in the universe. The guy or gal who cuts your hair may have an uncle who has a 40-unit building that they want to sell. So you just let people know what you're doing. And what I found is, if they're interested, they'll come to you because they kind of have a notion they'd like to do it, but they don't know really how to take that first step. And so if you simply just talk about, yeah, I'm going to Charlotte tomorrow to look at a 40-unit building, your neighbor may go, well, cool, tell me more. I've been wanting to invest in real estate and I don't really know how. Can you help me out? So I think just let people know what you're doing, and that will attract potential business to you much better than going, hey, I've got a deal, I need to raise $1 million, do you got 50,000 you want to invest? That's going
Yeah.
to turn
So, I
people
mean,
off.
on those two topics, one, telling people what you do is a great soft approach, right? It's no risk, and it lets people know, and it gives them kind of the onus of. And there's a lot of people out there that they're like, I want to do this, but I just don't know how, and I don't know who to do it with. And I've had people reach out to me, and we met up with coffee, and they're like, I just didn't know anybody local that did this, and can I get in your next deal? And I'm like, sure. And that, that's a very soft way for that to happen. I would say that on the flip side, though, when you do have a deal, I would recommend that you do offer it out to your entire network, and because you shouldn't be making the decision for them. It's an opportunity for them to invest. It's not you need their money, right? I think that there's two different ways to look at it. And so what I learned from my first syndication deal was where I was flipping through my phone, and there were certain people that I was like, oh, that guy will never invest, right? And I'm like, Darin, how can you make that decision for him? And I text the person, next thing you know, hey, let's grab coffee and talk about this thing. And then they invest. And another person, I'm like, oh, this guy's a no-brainer, right? And that person says, hey, I just bought this other company and I don't have any capital. Like, you just don't know. So you don't have to be hard about it, but I think that you should present the opportunity.
Oh, 100%. So if to clarify, I think once you've made some kind of contact and you've had some kind of discussion with an individual where they've expressed interest in multifamily, then certainly you have to present every opportunity. So I have automations where after I've made contact and had a conversation with an investor, and it's apparent that syndication investment would be suitable for that individual, because it's not suitable for everyone. They get put into my deal alert list. So every deal I do get, I do send out an email blast. And right now my database is probably 480 investors. So yes, but that is after I've established contact and had some kind of financial discussion with them, where they have indicated to me, yes, Arn, I'm interested. Yes, I want to be put on your list. Please let me know. And of course, as you know, depending on your offerings, 506C or 506B, 506B, which is what I primarily do, I have to have a prior relationship with the investor before I can really talk specific investments to them. But the 506C, accredited investors only, you can broadcast it a little wider. So certainly, and your thought about the mindset is, yes, we're not asking them for money. We're presenting an opportunity to them, is exactly right. And the thing is, if they want to invest, great. If they don't
And
want
there's
to
some in
invest,
between.
fine. It
They may
doesn't make any
not
difference. We're
be
not
ready
invested.
on
Yes.
this deal, but they still have questions, and that might be the
Yes.
starting of the learning process for that person. They missed this deal, but then a year or two later, they're like, okay, now I'm ready. And so you never do know.